All right, guys, here we go. Episode 6, Exploring with Angelo, is here with us today. Angelo and I have been out quite a few times together. He's a very chill guy. Unlike myself, I'm very hyper, very loud. Angelo is very quiet and very chill. A little bit about Angelo. He just cracked 100,000 subscribers on YouTube at that 105,000 mark. He's got consistent 5-figure views on his uploads every time he uploads a video. And he's got 20,000 followers on Twitter, which is unheard of these days. I can't even touch 20,000 followers on Twitter. And he is consistently one of the most active explorers I know. He is always on the go. He's always hitting something. So here we go, guys. Angelo, thanks for joining us on the All Access Freaktography podcast. All right, I gotta bring myself down because I'm all hyper, I'm all excited, and you're just chill, Angelo. So I gotta balance it out a little bit. I'm gonna bring myself down a little bit, back to your level.
No worries. Just be yourself, right?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Angelo and how you got into exploring abandoned places.
Well, how did I get started exploring abandoned places? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. There's a lot of history, obviously, behind a lot of the locations that we go to. I've always been into history, big history buff. And then later on, I started ghost hunting, basically. So the two and two both kind of go together, I suppose.
All right, and then at what point did you decide to get into the YouTube space, and what inspired that?
So I had already started YouTube. Really had no idea what the hell I was even doing. I was just kind of doing random vlogs, and then I kind of got into documentary style videos where I'd just pick some topics and then just kind of run off of them. Took a lot of research, a lot of
Yeah.
time to put them together, obviously. And yeah, it just kind of graduated from that into I'm like, okay, well, there's a bunch of other people who are kind of documenting abandoned places as well. So maybe I can do the same thing in my own style and see where it goes.
So you've experienced a pretty rapid growth on YouTube, and you hit that 100,000 subscriber mark pretty quickly. And you, again, like I said, you're regularly getting 5-digit views on every video. Was it like that from the start, or was there one video that you put out that really kicked things off for you?
It definitely didn't start off like that at all. It took a lot of work. I remember when I first started, I mean, getting 100 views was exciting because you're
Mhm.
like, oh, I started from zero. Now I'm getting 100, and then it eventually went to 200. Then I started getting 1,000, and so on and so forth. There wasn't really one particular video, I'd say. It took a long time. It felt like forever from the
Yeah.
moment I started until where I got here. Um, yeah, and the funny part is a lot of people think that a lot of the exploring stuff started on Exploring with Angelo. That specific channel, it actually didn't. That channel originally was for my business. It started out,
Oh,
I was doing sporting goods sales. So I owned a store, online sales, that type of thing. I had actually started the exploring on what is now my second channel or my vlog channel. Yeah.
okay.
So it kind of eventually, I already had the following on the other channel. So I'm just like, and then I had shut down the sporting goods store. So I decided to just transition that channel into the exploring just so I can kind of keep the two separated. But then everything kind of started kind of accumulating together, and I just started doing exploring on both channels.
Oh,
So
I was
yeah.
gonna say, so you've got two channels.
Yeah.
So which would you say is your main channel?
Definitely exploring with Angelo. So that's the one that's 105,000 or
Yeah,
whatever subscribers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just posted an hour ago.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I was
3 days ago, 5 days ago. Yeah,
yeah.
good. So you're pretty consistent.
Mhm.
Okay, so speaking of that, so you did just post. You've been traveling a lot, and it seems that every time I talk to you, you're on the road somewhere.
Mhm.
So what's sort of inspired this international travel, and where have you been going?
So what inspired it? I've just always liked to travel. Ever since I was young, I used to go away with my mom to like, let's say Mexico or Italy or Dominican Republic, mostly vacations, obviously. But I just always kind of had a sense of adventure and like to see new things, different, countries, different cultures, different scenery. And I always kind of wanted to have something that could basically, give me an excuse to go somewhere new. And then at this point, that's basically what I'm doing. Like, I'm traveling places that interest me for the most part, and just to kind of have an excuse to see them or be there. And then I can also kind of film and work at the same time, right? So where have I
Okay. Yeah.
been recently? I just came back from a month-long road trip. Oh man, I went all over the place. Where did I even go? New York State, which obviously has tons of abandoned places. So we did some
Yeah.
of that. Then we went to Massachusetts. Then from Massachusetts, we went to Buffalo, Pittsburgh down to Branson, Missouri, or Springfield, Missouri. And then from there, we went to Texas. We were there for about a week. And then from Texas to New Mexico to Arizona, and then basically back. I was going to go to Colorado, but by that time, I was just kind of like mentally exhausted. I'm just like, I don't want to, I can't function. Like my brain is not functioning at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to do Colorado for now. But yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Congratulations. That's actually quite the accomplishment to be able to travel and see so much.
Oh yeah.
You're one of the hardest working guys that I know in the industry or in the hobby. You're always on the go, which leads me to my next question. So, is this your main gig? Do you work, or is this it?
This is it. This is pretty much all I do. And I'm probably going to be doing a couple of extra side projects on top of this as well.
Right. Okay. So I just interviewed Ethan Minnie, and his episode will have aired by the time this one does. But I asked him, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you have a backup just in case YouTube decides we can no longer support trespassing and we will no longer let you monetize your videos? Do you have a backup for yourself in case you lose this revenue stream?
Well, right now, I would say I'm doing significantly less trespassing and exploring abandoned
Okay.
places.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I'm doing now. So right now, I'm doing a lot of Randon videos, which is just a really weird app that we use. So a lot of
Okay.
times we just use that randomly out. We might end up in a forest or whatever that might be, or in the Arizona desert up in the mountains, which we literally just did. But a lot of the other stuff that I've been doing, because I do a lot of the haunted stuff as well,
Right.
a lot of that you can actually do by booking. So like
Oh, okay.
so I'll book like a haunted jail, which we did in Texas. What else did we book? Haunted funeral home in Buffalo. And all these places at some point were either vacant or abandoned at some point. So technically it still kind of counts. You're
Yeah, no,
still,
totally. It's not. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not all about trespassing,
yeah,
which is I've explored with permission. It's not as much fun, but
hmm
I've done it. But
yeah.
okay, so you touched on my next question, which is Randonautica. Um, I know very little about that, and I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about what is Randonautica, how does it work, and how are you using it to pump out so much content all the time?
Well, basically, what Randonautica is, the shortened version is, it's sort of like it's an app that was designed to use a sort of quantum physics, so to say. So it utilizes intent. So let's say your intent is the color yellow. It's supposed to take you to a location that's near you, and there's supposed to be something that's related to the color yellow. It could be a banana.
Okay.
It could be a yellow school bus. It could be anything for that matter, or it could just be a dud. It happens a lot of times where we end up at places that there's just nothing there, or it's like a place that we can't enter, like a bank at 12 o'clock at night. So and then sometimes it'll take you to an abandoned location, or it'll just take you to like a trail or a forest or whatever it is, and
Right.
you sometimes encounter weird things, and that's pretty much the gist of it.
Interesting. And you've clearly, I mean, you've clearly found something with that because
Mhm.
you're getting good views. You're pumping out content like crazy using it, which is great. So congratulations.
Thanks.
On to the next question is your haunted videos. So I've been out with you
Hmm.
and Mo Sargi, and a lot of people sort of, finger their nose at the people that do this haunted stuff. And
Hmm.
for me, I don't do it because it doesn't work for me. And I've tried it and it didn't work for me. But to me, it's entertainment. But when I saw you and Mo doing it at the Nazi house, you guys
Mhm.
are legitimately serious about this, and you're not just making this stuff up as you go. Like I've witnessed it. So I wanted to ask you, what is the craziest experience you've had in terms of haunting that you cannot explain?
Hmm, that I cannot explain. That's a good question. I mean, I've done so many places now, had so many weird things happen. There's been so many occasions where crazy stuff has happened. I guess one that was significant to me was me and Mo. Actually, this was I think about 3 years ago. I think it was January 2020. We went to a place called Letchworth Village Asylum. I don't know if you've been there, but I've been there several
I've
times
heard of
now.
it. Yeah.
And basically, this was the first time Mo and I had ever been there, and it's one of the places, locations with one of the worst histories you can imagine. The things that they did to people there were just unfathomable.
Mhm.
So basically, we were confused when we first got there because, first of all, it was dark and we didn't know where the main building was. So I thought it was across the street. So Mo and I go down this dark road and we're just walking. And I'm like, okay, I think that's the building. It turned out that wasn't the main building at all, but it was the power plant building, which was
Okay.
funny. So we go in and we're in the basement. And I think we were in the basement. It might have been the basement or like some sub-level basement or whatever. I just remember calling it the vacuum room because there was a room with like 30 vacuums. So we're
Okay.
in this one area and all of a sudden Mo starts choking and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, you okay? And he literally gets down on his hands and knees and he starts praying in Arabic. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right? I'm like, dude, are you okay? And he's literally like and he finally like comes to and he says something was trying to choke me, like legitimately trying to choke him out. And it,
Wow.
it was one of the strangest things ever. And then by chance, after uploading the video, another person who had been there at some point in time says, wow, that's insane because I was scratched in the exact same spot where Mo was standing.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, that's pretty crazy, right? So I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. We had no idea what it was, and it was just strange because it wasn't in one of the main buildings where patients would have
Hmm.
been.
Hmm.
So we don't know why it happened or what the reason was for it to be in that place. Maybe something happened
Right.
in that specific building. We have no idea. But yeah, that was one of the craziest things. Apart from random doors slamming periodically, it happens.
Yeah.
Just another time I remember being in a jail. This was in Texas, and I filmed the jail twice now. The second time, probably as crazy as the first time. I haven't uploaded that series yet, but I remember the first time I was in the main jail area by myself, and I was with my friend Lamar, if you know who Lamar Menz is. And
Yeah.
he was in the building next to me. So he wasn't even in the same building. His girlfriend Chelsea was sleeping on the couch in like the side house. And all I remember hearing is somebody singing, like a man singing. Clearly, clear as day. I could hear it with my own ears. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that was pretty crazy. And then like moments later, it happened again, but even more clear than the first time. And I caught both of them on camera, and I'm like, okay, that's insane. Like I don't know where it came from. Um, it was just cool that I even caught it on camera at all. And I asked Lamar. I even checked his footage after. And I'm like, were you like screaming or singing or something? And he's like, no. And first of all, he's got, I don't know if you've ever heard him speak. He has like the deepest voice you'll probably
Yes.
ever hear. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it doesn't even remotely sound similar to him. Chelsea was sleeping, so I got no idea what the hell that even was.
That's yeah, that's so funny. I've had two experiences that I can't quite explain. One of them was when the first time we did Rockwood Asylum
Okay.
with myself, D Dog, Carlo, and Rhythm Rider. And Rhythm Rider and I had set up our hammocks in one room. D Dog and Carlo were up the hall in the cafeteria, and it was we had all gone to sleep. I don't know, maybe like 4 in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, And I can never sleep when I sleep in these places. So I'm laying in my hammock, and I heard footsteps as clear as day coming down the hallway. My eyes were closed. I was in my hammock. I'm trying to sleep, and I hear these footsteps coming down the hallway, so vivid that I think it's a security guard coming to get us,
Mhm.
or somebody doing a patrol through the building. I kept my eyes closed and I listened as these footsteps got closer and closer, and they stopped right at the door, the threshold of the door of the room that I was in. I opened my eyes, nothing there. And
Really?
I was not sleeping, I wasn't dreaming. And if you look up history and reports from people who used to work at that asylum, they'll say that the night staff hated working nights because of the sound of footsteps in the hallways in
Hmm.
that building.
Wow.
so,
I had
so I'm
I had a similar experience actually at Burwash when we were trying to sleep. Something we had set up a tent. It was me, Mo, and Rennie. We set up a tent in the middle of the cafeteria area, and
yeah,
it was funny because this was after we had already finished all of our filming. And I know the way Mo is; he can't sleep in places like that as well. And I'm like 100%. Come like 3 o'clock in the morning, Mo's gonna want to leave, right? So, anyways, this was before that. So we're in the tent. Rennie's out cold. I don't know how the hell he fell asleep so fast, but Mo and I are kind of like right next to each other in this tent. And all we hear is like something moving metal, like a metal trash can or something. And we're like, what the hell is that? We come out of the tent, we're looking around, nothing there. All I saw was like a little mouse crawl by. And I'm like, okay, well, it couldn't have been a mouse moving an entire piece of metal. So we're
yeah,
like, okay, whatever. We tried going back to sleep. Same thing happened again. And then it happened again after that. And Mo is like at some point in the dark with his night vision camera, just like looking around, trying to see what's moving or what's making this weird sound. And then at this point, he gets out. He's like, okay, pack up your stuff. We're leaving. I'm like, called it. I knew it was going to happen. So, of course, you've been to Burwash. It's like an hour and a half hike back to the
you
car.
doing that at 3 in the morning?
Yeah. So we left at 3 o'clock in the morning. We finally get back to the car at 4:30. Now we're driving from there into Sudbury, which is at least another 40 minutes to an hour. Now we're trying
Yeah.
to find a hotel room that will actually take us at 5:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh my god, it was such a weird, funny experience. But yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely got spooked. But it's
Did you hear what happened with Brandon from Uncharted Travels at
no.
Wash?
Oh, with the
He got attacked.
coyotes.
The coyotes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He got surrounded by coyotes.
Oh boy.
Crazy story. Anyways, so okay, so we've talked about some of your craziest experiences that you can't explain. What about like what's your favorite experience that you've had, whether it's an abandoned place or a place you've traveled to, something that you've published that's already out there? What's your favorite moment that you've had?
I've had a lot now at this point. One of my favorite locations to explore and just experience overall was definitely the Titanic Mansion.
Oh,
That
yeah.
place, I don't think, have you ever done that place?
No, never
No?
got.
Oh man, it was so worth it. Just the
Yeah.
way we had to do it was hilarious because we had to like basically run through forests and hide and shit just to get in there. But once we were in there, we were like, holy crap. I think we were in there for like a good 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing experience. The place is just marvelous. And we got very lucky because literally 2 days after, they installed security cameras around the whole building. So
Wow.
yeah, we got extremely lucky. And what else would I say was really cool? Doing stuff in Japan. That was cool. I did the Billionaire's Mansion. That was
Okay.
pretty notorious. Did uh, the forest. We'll just call it the famous Japanese forest. So you don't get
Another
in
one you made. Yep.
trouble. Um, what else? I like experiencing the desert now. I did it. I went to
Mhm.
Vegas for the first time last February, and then I did Arizona in April, and then I did New Mexico, I think in like May or something like that. And now I just can't get enough of it. It's just super scenic and really, really cool. There was one video in particular that was a crazy experience. So we were in New Mexico and we ended up at an abandoned missile silo. Like it was
Oh
very
wow.
deep, bunch of levels. And I just remember going up, it was like open. So if you're looking for the video, there's a picture of me. I'm, typical shock face thumbnail with a like this or whatever, and you see there's
Yeah.
the big gate is open where the silo where the missile would have come out
Okay.
from. So we get there, I approach, I'm like, oh cool, look at this, and I'm like looking down and whatever. So I'm there filming. I come back around and I'm like, okay, let me go and see what Jazz is doing, which is my friend Yasko, because he was
Mhm.
one of the other spots around there. And I'm coming back around, and at this point I had stopped recording, and I look, and there's just a rattlesnake just sitting
Oh,
there, and I'm like, oh shit, and I just start running. I wasn't even recording at this point. I'm just running and screaming, and because I had never seen a rattlesnake up until that point. And
yeah.
I get back to my friend Jazz. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, bro, there's a huge rattlesnake over there. And I checked the footage, and I realized that because of where it was sitting there with its tail like on the edge, but then leaning all the way down into the actual silo. And
Okay.
when I checked the footage, I realized that where I had stood was maybe a foot away from it. Yeah, and apparently they can detect like body heat and stuff if you're close to them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got really
Yeah.
lucky that I didn't get bit.
Very lucky.
Yeah. So there was that incident. Moments later, we open the door. We're about to go down. Jazz is in front of me. He's holding his camera. I'm behind him holding my camera. He's shining his light. He takes like 3 steps down, and he goes, oh my God. And he just starts screaming. He's like, run, run, run. I'm like, what the hell is going on? He's like, there was a snake coming up the stairs.
Oh my God.
So at that point, we're like, okay, this place is clearly infested. Let's just leave. This is clearly not worth it.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're like in the middle of nowhere. We're like maybe an hour away from Roswell, and there's literally like nothing around apart from abandoned missile silo and whatever, like farmland. So at this point, we're walking up the driveway when all of a sudden I hear something quickly going through the grass. So we start running again. We stop, slow down. We're like, what is going on? Why are there so many snakes everywhere? When all of a sudden, Jazz turns and he hears in the grass, like right next to us. So we start running again all the way to the gate. We're like, just don't stop running. Just get to the gate, jump over it, just get in the effing car and just leave. That's it. So it was just such a crazy experience.
That's not. You got so lucky, like 3
Oh
times
yeah,
over.
right. I think
Wow.
4 times. Just the 4th time. Well, there was one time where we didn't see
Yeah.
it. Right. So,
Oh
but
my God. So lucky. um, so you talk about some of your exploring partners. Do you prefer exploring with another person or a group or by yourself?
Um, I've done all of the above, but I do kind of like
Yeah.
exploring with other people, especially if I'm filming, because we kind of, can
Mhm.
either bounce off of each other, which to me is a very important aspect to the videos.
Yeah.
Because, random banter, I guess, to me is
Yeah.
important in my videos. Because
Mhm.
sometimes, you might run out of things to say, I guess, and then it's just pure
Yeah.
silence, right? And it's just like, okay, well,
Right.
that's awkward. But yeah, all of the above. I
All right.
think I prefer exploring with other people just for safety reasons.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, to each is their own.
Cool. Have you ever been hurt or injured?
Yes, I've almost fallen off of a cliff at one
Mm.
point. That was with Mo at Kings Park because
Okay.
we were going from one building to another, and instead of going the easy route, Mo's like, "Oh, let's just take this. It looks like a shortcut," and it's like this big wall, like a giant retaining wall that's part of like the side of a cliff, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And basically, I got really lucky on that one because for some reason somebody had tied a fire hose around a tree. So I had stuck my hand in the fire hose, took one step, lost my footing. Camera's basically almost about to slide off the mountain or the cliff or whatever. Grabbed it in one hand, and I'm just like, oh shit, okay, well, that was close. Stepped on nails before, cut myself on glass. I mean, the
Yeah.
usual stuff that we go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the law? Have you had any serious run-ins with law, security, police, owners? Like, have you been charged?
I did, yes. I had. I was once charged with break and enter,
Yeah.
which it was just kind of ridiculous the way the cops were trying to obviously frame the whole thing because it was obviously
Yeah.
an abandoned house. But that was obviously dropped. Got a good lawyer. They dealt with it, and it just kind of went away. Essentially, they dropped all the charges. And
Good.
then apart from that, there was one incident where we were. I think we were in New Hampshire. It was me, Mo, and Carlo. I'm sure Carlo's probably told you the story of us running, basically hiding in the woods from police and canines,
Uh-huh.
which was funny. We got away, I guess you could say, and then once we kind of hiked all the way through this forest, which was super muddy and wet. Like I got my shoe at one point got stuck right in the mud, and then my foot came right out, and I lost my footing, and I had to stomp with just my sock right
Yeah. Yeah.
into the swamp water. And then
Yeah.
by the time we got out, the cops were waiting for us. They saw us walking up the road because an all black truck with Ontario plates kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in the middle of
Yeah.
on the side of the road in the middle of New Hampshire. So they knew it was us. But then when they came to us, we just basically played stupid with them. And they're like, "Oh,
Okay.
you didn't go to the haunted house over there, did you?" And we're like, "What haunted house? There's a haunted house. Can we go?" Right? It's like it was pretty obvious that we were playing stupid, but the cops were like being really nice just because we're just YouTubers just doing stupid stuff
Right.
and whatever. But yeah, it was hilarious though because we essentially changed all of our identities. So we all like swapped shirts, we all swapped hats, so we didn't look exactly the same coming out from when we went in, just in case there was like
Right.
cameras and stuff. So we kind of like messed them all up. It was pretty
That's
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
Good. What's
For, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, apart from that, I think that was pretty much it.
Oh, okay. So the next question that I ask everybody is, what's in your camera bag? What gear are you using?
So I have a Canon M50 mirrorless camera. I also have a Sony Handycam, which I usually use for night vision purposes. I think those are the two main cameras. I do have an extra camera that used to be my main camera, and I just kind of keep it on me just in case, one decides to poop out. But yeah, apart from that, couple of extra lenses. What else do I have? Uh, Tripods, flashlight, Olight, one of the best things I've ever purchased. Highly recommend.
Uh-huh.
And then I have like several different equipment containers for all the ghost equipment as well. So,
Okay. And so for ghost equipment, what do you use?
so typical EMF meter, of course, spirit box, headphones, because now we do something called the Estes method, which is really fascinating and seems to work really well. Cat balls, they basically light up from motion to tell you when something is there. A
Oh,
REM pod, I have like about 3 of them. One of them is
okay.
super loud and super annoying. What else do I got? I have a music box which I recently purchased. It's motion. It's basically got a motion sensor built in, and it plays like this really
Okay.
creepy music if something is basically moves in front of it. And
Oh, cool.
then I also have a device called a paranormal script. It's kind of new, hit or miss with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's essentially a word bank that spirits can choose words to communicate with us. Sometimes, like I
Okay.
said, it works really well. Sometimes it just gives out random words, but it's just what it is, I guess. And then I think I have a couple other random
Interesting.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so, who out there, whether it's, I obviously have geared this towards exploring, but when you've got things like, uh, going out into the desert and Randonautica and all the other stuff that you do and ghost hunting, who really inspires you? Who is out there doing the same thing that you sort of get inspiration from?
Well, originally it was all you guys. Before I met any of you, really, I used to watch all of your videos. Used to. I still watch your videos. I just have significantly less time to do so these days, so I'm
Yeah.
not able to watch everybody's videos because there's so much content out there. But yeah, originally it was just all of you guys. I'm like, man, these guys are so cool. They go and they find all these cool locations, and they're always running from security, and it just looked like a lot of fun. And I'm like, I would like to do what these guys do. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so now, so you've been doing this for quite a while. You've got quite a bit of experience under your belt. So, if there was a young explorer out there, or a young ghost hunter, a young YouTuber who wants to get out there and start in these hobbies,
Mhm.
what advice would you give somebody who's looking to start out doing what you do?
Oh boy. I guess like in terms of becoming successful on YouTube, is that what you're asking, or just in general?
Like just getting into any of these hobbies that you do, whether it's for fun or to get into YouTube. Like what
Mhm.
type of advice would you give?
Okay, well, I guess it would have to be specific based on somebody's circumstances or situation. If you wanted to do it as a hobby, just treat it like a hobby. Just have fun with it. Obviously, be careful and stay as safe as possible. Go with friends if you can. Um, but yeah, I guess set aside the drama that a lot of people have consistently tried to pull off in this hobby, because at the same time, it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
So just have fun with it. That's all you got to do. If it's something that interests you, just have fun. That's what it's all about, right? I know that's how I
Yeah.
started out. On the other hand, if you want to create a successful YouTube channel, then you got to treat it more like almost like a business, I guess, or just treat it entirely like a business. Be as consistent as possible. Find techniques that work for you. Also, being yourself and trying not to be like anybody else who, is a, I guess, personality on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely take it very seriously, as if you would take a job seriously or a business seriously. Because if you want to be successful, hobbies typically don't pay very well. So um, treat it more like, a profession at the end of the day. Like, always look for ways to improve your quality, whether it's your camera work or your equipment. And also be prepared to spend a lot of money, because this thing is not cheap at all, right?
Yeah. That's great. Excellent. That's a lot of good advice.
Mhm.
Everybody that I talk to always says, be yourself.
Mhm.
Everybody says, don't get involved in the drama. As hard as it is to not get sucked into the drama, don't get involved in the drama. And you make a very good point about treating it like a business. And,
Mhm.
on my side, I do very much treat what I do like a business
Mhm.
behind the scenes. And you're right. It's consistency, it's branding, it's, figuring out, your persona. I always like to call it like a cartoon character version of my real self.
Yeah, exactly.
you know? Yeah. And that's it. So this has been awesome. We've all learned a lot more about Angelo. I'm going to put all Angelo's links down below, both YouTube channels, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you guys are following Angelo, subscribe to his channel, watch his stuff, get involved, drop him a message, tell him you came from the podcast. That's about it. Angelo, thanks a lot for being here. It's been a great interview.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to hanging out again sometime. And thanks a lot for joining the podcast.
All right, thanks for having me.
Okay, guys. So that was Angelo, exploring with Angelo. And I knew that he would have some great stories, especially with his ghost hunting. And like I said, and I've said many times, I don't personally really believe in the ghost thing. It doesn't, other than really one or two times, I haven't had that many experiences. And you'd think that being in as many of these abandoned places as I've been, that I would have had many, many more ghost experiences than I actually have. But I have had a couple, so I can't say that I'm totally a non-believer. So, anyways, as we do at this part of every podcast, it is Urbex Book Club time, and we are going to read again, as we do every week, a couple of lines from Access All Areas, the book written by the late Jeff Chapman, also known as Ninjalicious, a pioneer of the urban exploration hobby as we know it. And wouldn't you know it, he's got a couple of paragraphs about dealing with the supernatural. This is page 102 of Access All Areas. And here is what Jeff Chapman had to say in 2005 about hauntings and the paranormal. While I esteem ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts as fellow intrepid adventurers in off-limits locations. Bluntly, I recommend not concerning yourself with ghosts or hauntings until such time as a poltergeist actually walks up to you and says hi. I'm not suggesting that you actively refuse to believe in anything supernatural, merely that you take an agnostic approach and don't believe it until you see it. There's no real downside to doing this, since ghosts, unlike gods, aren't known for punishing people for their lack of faith. If they are real and they want you to know they're real, they will let you know. In the meantime, don't worry about it. Urban exploration is cool enough and tense enough as it is without forcing in fantasy elements or other imaginary sources of extra tension. Staying grounded in reality not only gives you one less thing to worry about while you're exploring, it will also remove that tiny nagging voice in the back of your head that says maybe your excitement is rooted in self-delusion. Not actively believing in or seeking out the supernatural doesn't need to diminish your exploratory experiences, as you can still be fully tuned into the powerful vibes and spirits of the places you visit and still savor their very real creepiness. There's just no need to attribute these feelings to anything paranormal. So what he's saying, don't fake it. If it happens, it happens. And I do truly believe in the time that I've spent exploring with Angelo and Mo, these guys are actually doing this. They believe it. I think for the most part, the stuff that you see in their videos is probably real. I do not think a lot of it is faked. I know some guys fake it. Some of it is faked. Some of it is, in your imagination. But just like Jeff says in Access All Areas, if the ghosts are there and they want you to know, they will come to you. And I would say 2, maybe 3 times they have come to me. Once I got it on camera. The other 2, I didn't get it on camera. Fortunately for my friends Mo and Angelo and some of these other guys, they managed to get a lot of this stuff on camera. So that has been Urbex Book Club. Once again, Access All Areas. Tune in next week as we read a couple more paragraphs from the book from something that is highly relevant to that specific episode. Okay, guys, that's a wrap on episode 6. We've made it 6 episodes of All Access to Freaktography Urban Exploration Podcast. Massive thanks to my friend Angelo for joining us for this episode. He's got great stories, great guy. I did have to find myself checking my chill, bringing myself down a little bit because I do tend to get very hyper. Breaking news, guys, I just found out from Angelo not long after our episode that he has actually been working on his own podcast. He has invited me to come on it. I don't know when he's going to launch it. Make sure you're watching and following Angelo and keep your eyes out for when he launches his own podcast. Next week, guys, we're going to meet with a girl named Trespass Everywhere. She's got an excellent little book that she made based on stories and letters that she found in a number of abandoned places. So we're going to talk to her about that. And then the next week, finally, guys, we have my interview with a lawyer. We're going to talk with a criminal lawyer about what you need to know about trespassing, breaking the law, and maybe how she can help you if you get yourselves in a pickle. So that's it, guys. Make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you're there. I got to go, guys. See you guys next week. Peace.